Come here. Susan thought for a moment before waving at Jacob. Jacob walked up to her. No matter if she called him with a good intention or a bad one, avoiding her command would be useless. She held up Jacob's wrist as if she was trying to sense something. Jacob was a little nervous about being this close to her. The last 2 times he was this close to her, it had not worked out well for him. He didn't want to be trapped in another piece of jewelry by her. Your heart is beating very fast, Susan said indifferently. That's because I don't really trust you, Jacob replied. Susan raised her head and stared at Jacob before saying, How sweet. Then she added, sarcastically, If you want, I can put 2 more bracelets on you, or maybe an earring this time. Oh no, please don't. Jacob gave in quickly. Seeing that the person in question was Susan, he knew that she most likely wasn't joking, and he didn't need any more so-called gifts from her than he already had. Susan let go of Jacob's arm after a while and said, You've improved since last time, but 2 meridians' ends were split in the wrong direction. Try feeling it yourself. Jacob followed her instructions, worked the natural essence in his body using the spirit concentration scroll, and felt the slight clog in the 2 spots she was talking about. However, there were only 3 to 4 small acupoints in those spots, so Jacob was able to open them up in no time after guiding the nature essence in his body through them. The spirit concentration scroll formed a perfect cycle and circulation in his body, and it immediately made Jacob feel an increase in the speed of circulation. Seeing Susan looking down at the magazine again, Jacob admired her and felt grateful. He wouldn't have been able to overcome these little problems if it wasn't for her guiding him. After all, I do need a master to coach me. If I tried to explore it myself, I would never be able to find out that something is wrong with my meridians. It would also take much longer for me to break through the 3rd level of the spirit concentration scroll on my own. Even Dracon instructed me on cultivation, but he didn't spot any issues with my meridians. This is proof that Susan's level is even stronger than Dracon's, he thought. Seeing Susan ignoring him again, Jacob returned to his seat and prepared to concentrate on cultivation. He was about to close his eyes, but he thought for a while and couldn't help but ask, Susan, you're not cultivating today? Susan raised her head and looked at him. You really think I am a cultivation freak, don't you? I, too, need to rest sometimes. Besides, you would affect my cultivation in some way when you are here, she said in a straightforward manner. Jacob forced a smile. Even though this teacher's level was high, her attitude was not exactly the best. He closed his eyes and was about to cultivate, but again couldn't when Susan suddenly said, Do you know about Soph's birthday party? Isn't it next month? Jacob asked. Yeah, I already received an invitation. The scale of Soph's birthday party will be huge this time, and many important figures, who otherwise live in seclusion, will be there, Susan said. Is her birthday more important this year for her? Jacob asked. Susan snorted lightly at the naive question. It's not as simple as you think. If it were just a normal party, I wouldn't be talking to you about it. Jacob sensed the condescending tone and asked, What do you mean? This gathering seems like Soph's birthday party on the surface, but it's actually an event to compare the strengths of the different clans, especially the North Atlantic and the South Atlantic. Dracon visited and invited many important masters to come out and help. The appearances of these influential figures would indicate where they stand. Seeing Susan saying this solemnly, Jacob became serious as well. Does it mean the start of a war? He asked. It's not as severe as a war, but small-scale fights will definitely happen. Even though these 2 clans seem friendly to each other, their relationship has deteriorated over the years. Our clan's businesses on land are doing way better than theirs. But in terms of cultivation, the South Atlantic is better than us. Isn't Sophie's Uncle Kenith very powerful? Jacob asked. Susan nodded her head and explained. It is because of him that the South Atlantic doesn't dare do anything reckless. Kenith is the #1 master in the human realm. Other than those old cultivators who haven't shown themselves in thousands of years, no one could defeat him. Kenith is really that strong? Jacob was shocked again. After hearing both the flattery from General Arthur in the Dragon Palace and the Heavenly Master Susan, Jacob felt very differently about Kenith. He hadn't taken him as seriously till now because of their mutual dislike for each other, but from now on, Jacob made a mental note to be more careful around the man. No wonder he is so arrogant. That man is invincible in the human realm, Jacob thought. However, Susan changed her tone to a grave one. Kenith's Heavenly Tribulation will be next month. If Kenith can pass through the Heavenly Tribulation and become a heavenly dragon, the South Atlantic will still be intimidated for a while. If not... She trailed off mid-sentence for effect. Jacob's mood became solemn as her tone changed. He was still new to this world, and finding out that there was possibly going to be a war in the future was intimidating to him, to say the least. Especially knowing that, being the Dragon King, Dracon's family would be at the forefront of it all. Since he was truly invincible in the human realm, Kenith's Heavenly Tribulation would definitely be very tough. And don't think that you'll be fine as Dracon's son-in-law. If the two clans start fighting, they may not even be capable of protecting Soph, Susan stated plainly. Will Sophie be in danger despite being the king's daughter? Jacob's heart skipped a beat. Actually, both the clans have held grudges against each other for a long time, and Soph is like the spark that sparked the bomb. And you, Susan stared at Jacob and said, just became Soph's fiancé at a time like this. Jacob's heart skipped another beat. I'm not too sure what Dracon is thinking at the moment. If he's preparing for the worst, then he will be handing Soph to your care, Susan said. Jacob didn't speak. He was thinking hard. At this moment, his mind suddenly felt confused, and he was no longer in the mood to cultivate. Which side are you on? Jacob asked her after a few seconds. I'm an inspector. Theoretically, I need to maintain the orderliness of the whole dragon tribe. If they really start fighting, I can only remain neutral. Both, North and South, are powerful forces and can't be stopped by 1 or 2 inspectors, Susan replied. Jacob fell into thought again. After a few moments of silence, he asked Susan, What should I do? Susan left him with 4 words. Work harder to cultivate. And, in all reality, that was the best thing he could do. If he worked hard enough and became strong enough over time, he would at least have a chance of protecting Soph and himself. Jacob didn't expect this kind of response. However, when he thought again, there was nothing else he could do. Other than trying to raise his strength, he couldn't do anything more. These internal fights of the dragon tribe couldn't be controlled by the secular forces. During Soph's birthday party next month, many important figures, as well as other inspectors, will appear in various forms. As an impure essence, you will be easily detected by them. However, as Soph's fiancé, you have to be there. In other words, Susan dragged out her words, if you haven't achieved at least the first level of cultivation successfully to prove that you're a member of the dragon tribe, you'll be in some pretty serious danger. Serious danger. Susan said those 2 words, syllable by syllable. From Kenith's behavior, it is easy to judge the attitude these masters have towards ordinary human beings. Jacob sighed. How did I get into the middle of all this? Jacob wondered. His forehead was full of sweat as he closed his eyes and concentrated on cultivating the most fundamental cultivation technique, the spirit concentration scroll. Susan, who sat in front of him, sighed deeply. She looked down at her hands and thought, if this guy can't reach the first level in time, should I help him? She was conflicted because, as an inspector, she wasn't supposed to help one tribe. But Dracon and Helen had literally raised her, and she couldn't just sit and watch their son-in-law die like a fly smashed under a swatter.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.